It was a cold, cloudy morning when Derek Carter, a young black man in his late 20s, rushed down the empty street with a folder clutched to his chest. His shoes splashed through puddles as he checked his cheap wristwatch again and again. He had only 20 minutes left before his final interview at Sterling Enterprises, one of the biggest companies in the city. He had dreamed of this chance for months. After losing his last job at a construction site, Derek had worked night shifts at a gas station just to survive. The interview was his one shot at a better life. But as he turned the corner, his eyes caught something. An old car stopped in the middle of the road, steam rising from under its hood. Standing beside it was a woman in her 30s, wearing a gray coat and heels, struggling to open the bonnet. Her face looked tense, and cars behind her started honking loudly. Derek slowed down. His heart told him to help, but his brain screamed, "You'll miss the interview." He took a deep breath. "Ma'am, do you need help?" he called out. The woman looked up, surprised. "Oh yes, please. My car just stopped. I don't know what's wrong." Without thinking twice, Derek dropped his folder on the pavement and hurried to her car. He opened the hood, steam hit his face, and he coughed. "Looks like the radiator's overheated," he muttered. He searched around for water, found a small bottle in his backpack, and poured it slowly. The woman stood beside him, shivering in the wind. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. "You'll ruin your clothes." He smiled faintly. "It's fine, ma'am. You'd do the same if I was stuck?" Minutes passed. Derek's hands were black with grease, his shirt stained. His watch now read 9:40 a.m., only 10 minutes left. The interview location was across town. There was no way he could make it in time. Still, he stayed until the engine finally came back to life. The woman's eyes brightened. "It's working," she said, relief washing over her face. He nodded, closing the hood. "Try not to drive too far until you get a mechanic," she smiled kindly. "You saved me today. Please, let me repay you. Can I at least give you a ride somewhere?" Derek hesitated but agreed. "I have an interview, though I think I'm already late." "Where to?" she asked, starting the car. "Sterling Enterprises." Her hands froze on the wheel for a second, but she said nothing, just pressed the gas pedal and drove fast. They reached the tall glass building 15 minutes later. Derek stepped out, his clothes messy, his folder damp from the rain. He looked embarrassed. "Thank you, ma'am. You're really kind," she smiled, almost mysteriously this time. "You too, Derek. Good luck inside." He blinked. How did she know my name? He hadn't told her. Before he could ask, she drove away into the city traffic. Inside the building, the receptionist gave him a cold look. "You're late. The interviews ended 10 minutes ago." Derek's heart sank. "Please, can you tell them I had an emergency?" The woman shook her head. "Sorry, sir. Come back next year." Defeated, Derek walked outside, staring at the sky. The rain began to fall again, softly this time. He whispered to himself, "I did the right thing, right?" He didn't know that the woman he had just helped wasn't just anyone. She was Rachel Sterling, the owner of Sterling Enterprises, and she hadn't really left. From her car across the street, she was watching him quietly, a small smile forming on her lips. The next morning, Derek woke up in his tiny apartment to the sound of rain hitting the window again. He lay there for a moment, staring at the cracked ceiling, feeling the heavy weight of disappointment in his chest. He had missed his dream interview, all because he stopped to help a stranger. His wallet was almost empty. His rent was due in 3 days. The little hope he had left was fading. He sighed and sat up on his old couch, which doubled as his bed. "Maybe I was foolish," he muttered to himself. "Being kind doesn't pay the bills." His phone buzzed suddenly. Unknown number. Derek frowned. "Hello? Good morning, Mr. Carter. This is Sterling Enterprises HR department." A cheerful woman's voice said. Derek's eyes widened. "Oh, yes. Good morning. We received your application, and though you missed your interview yesterday, our management has requested to meet you today at noon if you're available." Derek's heart skipped a beat. "Really? Yes, I can be there." "Perfect. Dress comfortably, Mr. Carter. This meeting will be a little different." As the call ended, Derek stared at his phone in disbelief. Different. What does that mean? He whispered. He rushed to clean up and put on his only neat shirt. The same one still faintly stained from yesterday's car repair. He tried to brush it off, ironed it as best as he could, and took the bus to the city center by noon. He was standing once again before the tall glass building of Sterling Enterprises. This time, he felt nervous and curious. The receptionist recognized him and gave a polite smile. "Mr. Carter, they're expecting you? Please take the elevator to the 25th floor." The 25th floor. That was the executive level. Derek swallowed hard. When the elevator doors opened, he found himself in a bright office with large windows overlooking the city. A young assistant greeted him. "Right this way, sir. Ms. Sterling will see you now." "Miss Sterling?" Derek's mind raced. No way. It can't be her. The assistant opened the door, and there she was, the same woman from yesterday. Her gray coat was replaced by a stylish navy blue suit, and her calm smile looked even more powerful in this setting. Derek froze at the doorway. You're the lady from the road." Rachel Sterling stood and walked toward him, her heels clicking against the marble floor. "Yes, I am," she said softly. "And you're the man who helped me when you didn't have to." I didn't know." He stammered, his voice trembling. She nodded. I know. That's what made it real." She gestured to a chair. "Please, sit." Derek sat down nervously. Rachel studied him for a moment before speaking again. "Yesterday I saw something I rarely see anymore: kindness without expectation. You could have walked away to save your own future, but you didn't." He swallowed, unsure what to say. "I just did what anyone would do." Rachel smiled faintly. "Not everyone would. That's why I wanted to meet you personally." She slid a file across the table. "This is your contract, Mr. Carter. I'm offering you a job not as an assistant, but as a junior project coordinator. I want people like you in my company." Derek blinked in shock. "You? You're serious?" "Completely." Tears filled his eyes as he slowly nodded. "Thank you, Miss Sterling. You don't know what this means to me?" "Oh, I do," she replied softly. "I've been where you are." For a moment, silence filled the room. Only the sound of rain outside echoing faintly. Then Rachel added, "Your first test begins today. I want to see how you handle leadership and humility. Are you ready for that?" Derek straightened his back, determination in his eyes. "Yes, ma'am. I'm ready." Rachel smiled. "Good. Then welcome to Sterling Enterprises," as Derek shook her hand. He felt something shift inside him, like fate had finally noticed his kindness. He had missed his interview, but found something far greater: a chance, a purpose, and someone who believed in him. Derek arrived at Sterling Enterprises the next morning with his heart full of hope and nervous excitement. It felt unreal. Just 2 days ago, he was fixing a stranger's car, and now he was walking into a skyscraper as a new employee. He straightened his shirt, took a deep breath, and stepped into the shining marble lobby. "Good morning, Mr. Carter." The receptionist greeted him politely this time. The tone was different, respectful. He smiled and replied, "Good morning." The assistant led him to the project coordination floor. The room buzzed with activity phones, ringing, people typing, and conversations about reports and deadlines. Derek looked around with wide eyes. He felt like a small fish in a huge ocean. At his new desk, a young man with slick hair leaned over. "You must be the new guy," he said, his tone sharp. "I'm Brian. Been here 5 years." "Nice to meet you," Derek said politely, offering his hand. Brian glanced at it, then ignored it. "So, you're the one who got hired directly by Ms. Sterling, huh?" Derek blinked. "I guess so. She interviewed me yesterday." A few heads turned nearby. Whispering started immediately. Someone muttered he didn't even go through the process. Another added, "Must be a charity case." Derek tried to ignore them and focused on his computer. He didn't want trouble. He was here to work hard, not make enemies. A woman named Clara, who sat across from him, gave a small smile. "Don't mind them," she whispered. "Brian thinks he owns the place." "Thanks," Derek said quietly. "I'll just do my best." Hours passed. Derek studied reports, helped with a presentation, and even stayed late to finish a document no one wanted to touch. His dedication started to show. By the third day, his work was already catching the attention of Rachel Sterling herself. That afternoon, she walked into the office with her calm authority. "Team, good job on last quarter's results," she said. Then her eyes landed on Derek. "Mr. Carter, the file you reviewed, excellent work. Keep it up." Few jaws dropped. Brian's face tightened with jealousy. After she left, he muttered, "Unbelievable. One compliment, and he acts like a hero." Derek ignored him again, though his heart stung. He wasn't trying to show off. He just wanted to prove he belonged. Later that evening, as Derek prepared to leave, Brian approached him. "Hey, newbie," he said with a fake smile. "Miss Sterling asked for the new client file. It's on the 28th floor storage. Go get it before you leave." "Sure," Derek said, grateful for a chance to help. He took the elevator. But when he reached the storage room, it was empty and dark. There was no file. Suddenly, the elevator beeped behind him, and when he returned, his desk downstairs was in chaos. Important project papers were missing from his workstation. His computer was left open, and one of the managers stood there frowning. "Mr. Carter, where were you?" "I went to get a file," Brian said. "Brian," the manager repeated, crossing his arms. "He told us you left early, and the report wasn't finished." Derek's heart dropped. "No, I didn't leave early. Please, but no one listened." They dismissed him coldly as he walked out of the office, his shoulders heavy. He saw Brian smirking near the elevators. "Welcome to corporate life, hero," Brian whispered. "Let's see how long you last." That night, Derek sat on his small bed again, staring at his laptop. He could have given up right there. But then he remembered Rachel's words, "I want people like you in my company." He clenched his fists. "I won't let them win," he whispered. "Not like this." The next morning, he was at the office before anyone else. Determined to clear his name and earn respect the right way, he had no idea that Rachel Sterling already knew what had happened. She was quietly watching how he would respond. The next morning, Derek arrived earlier than anyone else. The sun hadn't even risen fully, and the city streets were still quiet. He walked into the building determined, his mind clear. He knew someone had set him up, but instead of complaining, he planned to prove himself through his actions. He began reviewing the missing project reports, rebuilding everything from memory. His hands moved fast over the keyboard, his focus sharp. By the time the first employees started arriving, Derek had already recompiled the client data, fixed the charts, and rechecked every figure. When Brian saw him at his desk, his fake smile vanished. "Still here, huh? Thought you'd quit after yesterday?" Derek didn't even look up. "No, Brian, I don't quit easily." Brian chuckled mockingly. "Let's see how long that attitude lasts." But what Derek didn't know was that Rachel Sterling had been informed of the incident. The manager had sent her an email, explaining how Derek had left early. Rachel didn't believe it for a second. Something inside her told her this was a setup. So, she decided to test him quietly, not through interviews or meetings, but through observation. That morning, she sent an internal memo assigning Derek a small but tricky task: preparing a proposal for a new community outreach project. It wasn't part of his regular duties. The twist? He had only 1 day to complete it, and no one was told to help him. When Derek received the assignment, he frowned. "Why me?" he asked Clara. She shrugged. "It's extra work. Maybe they want to see if you can handle pressure." He nodded slowly. "Then I'll handle it." For the rest of the day, Derek worked non-stop. He skipped lunch, ignored Brian's sarcastic comments, and focused only on the task. The project was about creating job opportunities for underprivileged youth, a topic close to his heart. He poured his real-life experience into it, explaining how small training programs could change lives. By evening, he was exhausted, but proud. He printed the report, stapled the pages, and dropped it on the manager's desk. "Here's the proposal, sir." The manager glanced up, surprised. "Already? It was meant to be due tomorrow." "I prefer being early," Derek said simply, and walked out. That night, when Rachel read the report, her eyes softened. His writing wasn't fancy, but it was honest, practical, and full of empathy. He had written from experience, not from theory. The next morning, Rachel called a small meeting with her executives. "Who gave Carter the wrong file yesterday?" she asked calmly. Everyone looked uneasy. Brian shifted in his chair. I thought he needed the document, ma'am."
Ow!
Rachel's voice was cold now. "And you told the manager he left early?" Might have misunderstood. Rachel cut him off. "Enough." She turned to the others. "Let me make something clear. This company rewards integrity, not games." Later that day, Rachel sent another message to Derek. "Meet me in conference room, be at 4 p.m. Derek's stomach tightened. He thought maybe he was in trouble again. When he entered the room, Rachel was waiting with his proposal in hand. She smiled. "You worked hard, Mr. Carter." He nodded nervously. "Thank you, ma'am. I just wanted to fix my mistake." "There was no mistake," Rachel said. "You passed my test." Derek blinked in confusion. "Your test?" "Yes. I wanted to see if you'd stay honest and hardworking, even when things looked unfair. You didn't argue or blame anyone. You just did your job. That's the kind of person I trust." Derek felt his throat tighten. "I just didn't want to disappoint you, ma'am." Rachel smiled warmly. "You haven't. In fact, I'm promoting you. Starting tomorrow, you'll assist me directly on our new project. You've earned it." Tears filled Derek's eyes as he whispered, "Thank you, Miss Sterling. I won't let you down." "I know you won't," she said gently. "And maybe one day, you'll help someone else the way you helped me that morning." The next morning at Sterling Enterprises started with quiet tension. Rumors spread fast. People whispered that the new guy, Derek Carter, had been personally promoted by Rachel Sterling herself. Some were shocked, some jealous, and others simply confused. Derek, however, came to work the same as always, humble, polite, focused. He didn't gloat or act proud. He simply smiled at Clara, greeted everyone good morning, and went straight to work beside Rachel's office, as she had instructed. For the first time in a long while, he felt seen, not for his color, not for his background, but for his actions. But not everyone was happy. In another corner of the office, Brian sat fuming. His plan had failed. Instead of making Derek look bad, it had only made him shine brighter. He couldn't stand it. How does someone like him get that position? Brian muttered to a colleague, "He's not even qualified." The colleague shrugged. "Maybe you should focus on your own work before you make her angry again." Brian ignored the warning. He had one more trick left. Later that week, a big presentation was scheduled with a foreign investor group. Rachel trusted Derek to prepare all the slides, financial data, and community outreach updates. It was a big deal if it went wrong. The company's reputation could take a hit. The night before the meeting, Derek stayed late at the office, checking every detail twice. He finally left around midnight, tired but confident. What he didn't see was Brian sneaking into the office after him, using his spare keycard. Brian opened Derek's computer and deleted half the presentation files, replacing them with wrong data. He grinned to himself. "Let's see how you handle this, golden boy." The next morning, the boardroom was full. Investors from overseas sat across the long glass table, waiting. Rachel entered with her usual calm authority, and Derek followed her, carrying his laptop nervously. "You ready?" she asked softly. "Yes, ma'am," he said, forcing a smile. But when the projector started, his heart froze. The slides were blank or worse, filled with incorrect numbers and broken charts. Gasps filled the room. Rachel looked puzzled. "Mr. Carter, what is this?" Derek's voice trembled. I don't understand." "It was perfect last night." Brian smirked from the back of the room. "Maybe you saved the wrong file," he said loudly. "Rookie mistake."
Derek's stomach twisted.
He felt his chance slipping away again. But then, he remembered something. He had emailed the final version to Rachel late last night as a backup. "Ma'am," he said quickly, "could you check your email? I sent the correct file around midnight." Rachel nodded, opened her tablet, and there it was, an untouched copy of the full presentation. She loaded it up, and the right slides appeared on the screen. Everyone clapped quietly as Derek continued, his voice steady again. He explained every point with passion, showing how the company could grow by helping local communities. His sincerity impressed everyone. When the meeting ended, the investors stood and shook hands. "Impressive work, Mr. Carter," one of them said. "You have a bright future." Rachel smiled proudly. "Yes, he does." But her smile faded as she turned to Brian. "Mr. Brian, stay back a moment." The room emptied, leaving only the three of them. Rachel crossed her arms. "We checked the security footage. You entered the office after midnight using your access card." Brian's face went pale. I just forgot something." Rachel's voice was cold now. "You forgot to log out after deleting his files. It restored everything this morning. Do you know what that's called?" Brian swallowed hard. "Ma'am, please, it's called sabotage," Rachel said sharply. "And it ends today. You're fired." Silence filled the room. Brian looked at Derek, guilt and anger mixing on his face. "You'll regret this," he hissed before storming out. Derek stood there, still shaken. "Ma'am, I didn't want anyone to lose their job because of me." Rachel placed a hand on his shoulder. "No, Derek. You didn't make him lose it, his actions did. You just proved once again that good people don't need to fight dirty." He nodded slowly, emotion building in his chest. "Take the rest of the day off," she said gently. "You've earned it." As Derek walked out into the bright afternoon sun, he felt lighter. The truth had come out. His honesty had survived the test. For the first time in years, he smiled up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you, God, for giving me this second chance." He didn't know it yet. But the biggest surprise of all was still waiting for him. One that would change his life forever. The day after Brian's firing, Derek arrived at the office expecting things to feel different, but he didn't realize how different it would be. When he walked through the doors, people who once ignored him now greeted him with smiles and nods. The whispers were gone. Respect had quietly replaced them. Still, Derek stayed humble. He thanked Clara for her help, focused on his work, and never bragged. Inside, though, he couldn't shake a question that had been growing in his heart. Why had Miss Sterling believed in him so deeply from the start? That afternoon, Rachel's secretary appeared at his desk. "Mr. Carter, Miss Sterling would like to see you in her private office." Derek felt a strange chill of nervousness. "Now?" "Yes, right now," she replied with a small smile. He straightened his tie, took a deep breath, and entered the large glass-walled office. Sunlight poured through the windows, painting golden reflections across the floor. Rachel sat behind her desk, calm as ever, a faint warmth in her eyes. "Please, sit," she said. Derek obeyed quietly. "You wanted to see me, ma'am?" Rachel nodded. "Yes, you've proven yourself in every way possible. Hard work, honesty, patience. But there's something I need to tell you. Something I've kept from you since the day we met." Derek's brows furrowed. "Something you kept from me?" She folded her hands and looked out the window for a moment before speaking. "You remember that day you helped me on the roadside, the day you missed your interview?" "Of course," he said softly. "I'll never forget it." Rachel smiled faintly. "That day wasn't the first time I saw you." "Wait," Derek blinked. "What do you mean?" She turned to face him fully. "A few months before that, my company ran a small volunteer program in the South District. You were there serving free meals to unemployed families. I watched you give your own lunch to a hungry child that day." His eyes widened. "You were there?" She nodded slowly. "I never forgot your face, or the way you smiled even when you had nothing. When I saw you again helping me with that broken car, I recognized you instantly. I wanted to see if that kindness was still real or just a moment of luck. That's why I gave you a chance." Derek sat frozen, speechless. All this time, he thought his story began with an accident, but she had been watching the whole time. Rachel continued softly. "You remind me of someone? My father. He built this company from nothing. He used to say, 'A person's true value is seen when there's nothing to gain.' When you helped me, I saw that same light in you." Tears welled in Derek's eyes. "I don't know what to say, ma'am." "Then just promise me something," she said. "Never lose that heart. Someday this company will need people like you to lead it." He looked up, shocked. "Lead it me?" She smiled. "Yes, you. Starting today, I'm appointing you as head of community projects. You'll oversee our charity programs, the same ones that once helped you. I can't think of anyone better." Derek's voice broke. "You're giving me that position?" "You earned it," Rachel replied. "Your story will inspire others who think kindness has no reward." For a long moment, silence filled the office zone. Only the soft hum of the city below could be heard. Finally, Derek stood, eyes glistening. "You believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. Thank you, Miss Sterling." Rachel rose too and offered her hand. "Thank you, Mr. Carter, for reminding me that humanity still exists in business." They shook hands. And in that simple gesture, two lives came full circle, one of gratitude, the other of faith, as Derek left the office. He paused by the elevator and looked at his reflection in the mirror-like doors. The poor man who once missed an interview was gone. In his place stood someone reborn, proof that a single act of kindness can change everything. When he stepped outside, the same street breeze brushed against his face. He smiled up at the bright sky and whispered, "Maybe missing that interview wasn't losing my chance. It was my chance." And somewhere above, it felt as if destiny itself smiled back.